Manorhaven.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I want to welcome everybody. It's the work session, February 11th, 2016, and I would just like to recognize that all members of our Board of Trustees are here this evening with us. Madam Mayor.
Well, we have 4 items on the agenda. If we have time, we'll get to the others as well. Blizzard is one, but first I want to personally thank our DPW, which Billy's here, and Michael Calvanese, and Chris Fay, and Luis, and our part-time Corey Ryan. They worked tirelessly from 2:30 on Saturday, January 23rd, through Tuesday, January 26th, removing snow, clearing storm drains, trying to remove the sheer volume of snow from the corners of Cambridge throughout the entire blizzard. I also want to thank our clerk, Leslie Gross, who was on the phone with me from 5 a.m. Saturday morning throughout the day and came in to ride with me with Chris Fay in our plow truck on Sunday. Thanks to James Toner, who spent Monday in the Village Code truck helping me while Leslie was with her mother in the hospital. Priscilla stopped by the village on Sunday morning, and Rita and Jim checked in as well. It was certainly a time to pull together. Tensions were certainly high, and I'm glad we all pull together. A few other things I just wanted to go over about the storm. So before the storm, all trucks were checked. They had salt and they had fuel. Billy and Mike came in at 2:30 on Saturday, and then Chris and Luis came in at 4 and 5 once there was an accumulation. They worked straight through until Sunday afternoon, took a 2-hour break, and came back at 8:30 that night. Cal Bay assisted us last winter with Storm Juno and is ready to assist when necessary. Cal Bay started to work on Saturday night at 10:20, did the following streets: Orchard Beach Boulevard, Kaywood Road, Linwood South, Morwood South, Dunes Lane, Norwood, Linwood North, Kirkwood, Cambridge, Juniper, Hickory, Furwood Road, Edgewood Road, Cottonwood, Boxwood, Ashwood, Inwood, and Graywood. Earlier in the evening on Saturday at 9 p.m., a rear brake line broke on the 650, which is one of our trucks, which meant we had no brakes, disabling the vehicle. The 550 continued plowing with our code truck, but due to the drifts, got stuck and needed to be towed out twice at night. The 550 got stuck in the drift and took 2 hours to get the tow truck there. Meanwhile, our guys tried to get the truck out while the small code truck continued to plow, the little engine that could. So we also had Scobo, who came down on Saturday night at 7 p.m. His payloader to clear the center of the streets. He worked again Sunday night, Boxwood, at 1 a.m., then continued cleaning until 4:18 a.m., and then he went home. Sunday, Leslie and I worked breakfast with the DPW, and Leslie and I also went for 3 hours in the plow truck on Manorhaven side with Chris Fay. One of our employees was injured, but continued to plow, went to the hospital on Monday morning. He then came back and continued to plow again. On Sunday at 9:24, outside help came again. Cal Bay came in and did the same streets again. That night he did the same streets as I mentioned earlier, and then Manhasset Isle. He did Pequot, Mohegan, Nessaquay, Corchog, Yennecock, Sagamore, Sing Sing East, Sing Sing West, Manhasset Avenue, Matinacock, and Secatog. Corey Ryan, who's our part-time person, came in at 9:53 p.m. to give the men a break. He cleaned up. While Cal Bay was on the Manorhaven side, he plowed until 5:35 a.m. Sunday morning. Sunday around 2 p.m., people were complaining that their cars were plowed in, so we pulled our DPW off for a few hours to allow the residents to dig themselves out and their vehicles. They came back after a 2-hour break. Corey came back again Sunday night at 10:24, Monday at 5 a.m. His mother went into an ambulance, which came from Manorhaven. Driver said the roads were fine and passable. 3 cars responded to the incident. And then Leslie, I know you wanted to say a few words as well, but I just wanted to say that James Toner and I, our village attorney, were in the code truck from 8 a.m. until that evening. We called in Don Wilson to assist on Monday. He plows for Marrow Brothers, and his son did an amazing job. Leslie, I know you wanted to say a few things, and
Sure.
I just want
Okay,
to also
go ahead.
mention that you and I, Leslie and I, were in constant contact with the DPW and the contractors throughout the whole storm, and I'll go into the overtime with the guys after Leslie.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address the board and have the opportunity also to thank all of you and also to thank our DPW for an amazing job. And I saw Priscilla here on Sunday morning when we had dropped off breakfast. I think you were even amazed that the guys had worked round the clock. And timing of bringing in the outside contractors was somewhat difficult because our guys really just wanted to do it, but we realized they needed to take a break, and we did bring them in, and we did shuffle the times of on and off just to make sure that there was always somebody on duty. Being in touch by cell phone really did help. And I just wanted to emphasize the situation that I had with my mother, which was quite amazing, and most of you knew that I had brought her up from Florida. She was supposed to go into the hospital at 1 in the afternoon on Monday after the storm. The only reason I bring this up is not because it was my mother, but at 5 in the morning on Monday morning, and that did turn out to be a snow day. The schools were closed because roads all over were impassable and difficult. The ambulance that responded up at my house in Manhasset had just come from Manorhaven. And I was amazed. I said, well, tell me about the roads. Here my mother's sick, and I'm asking them, how are the roads down in Manorhaven? And they said they were really okay. They didn't have a problem. This is 5 in the morning on Monday. Another interesting point that just happened was there was a big emergency down here, and that's why that ambulance had responded, but also a Nassau County ambulance. 3 police cars from Nassau County also had come down here to Manorhaven and responded to that emergency within minutes. And at the same time as I called 911, we had another Nassau County police that came from further south to respond. So I got to see in action some of the things we've been discussing here, that we have great police coverage, that they responded down here when there was an emergency within a few minutes. They pull another car from another area that responded to me well within minutes. So I just wanted to be able to publicly thank all of them. Our guys, I wanted to thank the EMS workers that came, and of course I'm having a conversation riding to the hospital. Oh, you know Kevin Gately? Yes, I worked with Kevin Gately. They were wonderful, really, really wonderful. And I did, please do, and I did write a thank you to them. I only used their first names. That did appear in the Port Washington News, I think last week. So that was a tribute to Kevin also, because he had been training these guys. And my mother's fine in the back, being in good hands, and I'm talking about, well, what was it like down in Manorhaven and who had come from there. I think if you're not in the middle of coordinating an effort like this, people on the outside really have no idea what goes into this. When the governor announced that this was an emergency, where the highways are closed down, where we had 2 to 3 foot drifts down here, that even our plow trucks, our big 550 and 650 could get stuck. This was a mammoth effort. This was not just a flurry. And I think that having this personal experience in Juneau last year and seeing what goes into it, salting, and especially in Manorhaven with the plethora of automobiles parked on the streets. And the minute it's 10 a.m. the next morning, they were switching. So one of the most difficult parts was when to call off alternate side parking, because it wound up keeping the cars on one side of the street. So I'm not saying everything was perfect, but I'm saying that within the parameters of the difficulties and the amount of snow, I think our guys and the outside contractors did an amazing job, and I want to thank all of them.
Thank you. you. Chris, I know you wanted to say a few words.
No,
Will you introduce yourself, please?
yeah, hi, my name is Christopher Fay, 60 Kirkland Road.
I know that, but he's our DPW,
Been a
and in
resident
all
of
fairness, I think I
Manorhaven
should
for
allow him to
15
speak.
years, resident of Port Washington for 30-some odd years. Okay, I came here looking for a fight, kind of had a feeling it was going to be a fight. And if anybody knows me, I kind of like to fight. But it's, we live in a village that has like, what, 9,000 landscapers?
Oh,
And not one person dropped the plow to help anybody. Not one
Wait, Chris, can
person.
you just address the board?
I'm so sorry, I'm so
I know
sorry.
that you just
Very,
want.
very sorry. I've just been really, really upset about this.
All right.
And I can count out of the 4 people that, worked on the DPW crew, I can count how many people came out and said if we were okay on one hand. And that's 5,000 people that live in this village. Less than 5 people came out and said, are you okay? And I asked, how long have you been living here? And you know what they said? About 10 years. We live in a really, really great part of this town. And I seem to see that there's a lot of people screaming all the time. I'm sorry that you had to spend 2 days with your family. I'm sorry that nobody passed away and everybody had heat, and nobody lost their electricity, and everybody had a lot of food, because there was nothing on the shelves of Stop and Shop. I'm sorry that, people had to hang around, but I tried, and we had truck problems, we had people screaming. It was a horrible, they said 6 to 12 inches on Channel 5. God said 26 to 30 some odd inches. I mean, honestly, who are you gonna be mad at? You're gonna be mad at me? You're gonna be screaming at all of us? We're trying our hardest. You can't bring any outside contractors in immediately, because then the money's just going out the window. You can't, they have jobs to do, we have jobs to do, and if it's overwhelming, and of course we have to go take a break, they're gonna take somebody else and bring them here for us. They're pushing snow and putting snow where we don't belong, or where it doesn't belong, and we can't be everywhere at once. Somebody was really hurt on the job, and they continued to work, and it was a horrible storm. It was a completely horrible storm. There were so many complaints, people screaming. There was a woman that said that I had to clean off the bus stops on Cambridge immediately, because if not, it would be like I was murdering the children. We're all about the same age, aren't we here? I mean, come on. These kids are a lot tougher than anybody gives them credit for. If you had to stand on the corner, if anybody drives down Cambridge at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, you see them all standing on the corner anyway, even when there is no snow. So I just wanted to say, I'm done fighting witches. I tried my best. Thanks.
That's it. I just thought he was going to talk about the streets. Really, we're done. You had something to say as well, but before you say that, I just want to also just say that, thank you, Chris. I'm looking to set up a meeting with Judy Bosworth to discuss the possibility of parking in Manorhaven Park during snow emergencies through an IMA. So if no cars are allowed on the streets during the snow emergency, we'll be able to get through the streets and plow. I was also given 3 proposals. I don't know if this is on. That's fine, whatever. It's working now. And the first proposal was presented on February 1st by the former Deputy Mayor Steele, a MAC member. In the village emergency proposal, she covers response, recovery, and also analysis and communication, as well as responsibilities for all officials and setting up of the community GIS mapping system and evacuation routes, establishing a part-time director of public and safety responsible for the important contract information. And there was also a second proposal sent in by Ken Kraft, and his snow proposal gives an important option for alternate side of the street parking during the snow emergencies, and this alleviates the moving of cars each night for village signage and set up positions for specific parking enforcement officers, allowing the code enforcement more time to deal with other violations. And the third was sent in today by Trustee Avina, and that reinforces the previous plans which discussed the needs for enforcing alternate side of the street parking, towing, and use of off-site lots, helping the elderly and disabled, and informing residents and following up. And Kevin, I think you had something to say as well?
Sure. During the weekend of the storm and the days thereafter, I got non-stop phone calls. I got stopped in the street, I got stopped in Stop and Shop, I got stopped on Main Street. I'll be honest, I didn't hear a single positive statement regarding the condition of the roads in Manorhaven. I responded to Orchard Beach Boulevard during the height of the storm to the fireboat. And that was during the height of the storm, and the roads were a mess. On Saturday afternoon, I drove every road in the village. And there were plenty of roads where I was unable to pass in my Jeep. There's no way you could get an ambulance or a piece of fire apparatus down these roads. I think suspending alternate side of the street parking was an interesting experiment, but I think the results were disastrous, and I think we should never do that again. I think we need to increase the fines during snowstorms by at least triple, and we need to be very stringent and almost ruthless in their enforcement of them. And I think when it comes to snow removal, we have a small DPW. We've got a lot of miles of roads. We've got some very narrow roads. And we've got roads that people rely on. And I think for the amount of times that we actually have to go out in snowfall versus the amount of disruption it causes the individual residents, it's just disproportional. I think maybe we should acknowledge that snow plowing is not our strong suit. It also makes it very difficult for us to know who to hold accountable, because we've got 7 contractors plus our own group. And maybe it's time we took a different approach and looked at possibly just turning the entire snow removal process over to one company that we will hold accountable, that will be responsible for the entire process from soup to nuts. So they're going to have to do the planning, they're going to have to provide all the equipment, they're going to have to provide the drivers, the salt, the sand, everything that's needed. And that will free up our DPW folks to focus on the trouble spots, and to maybe go around and make sure that they're doing a good job and police the folks that are actually doing the work, and handle any emergencies that may arise, so they're not burdened with the day-to-day. On Sunday afternoon, I walked every street on this side of the village. At like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I set out down my own street, and I was up to my ankles in snow on Sunday afternoon on Juniper Road, down Cambridge. I watched people sliding all over the place. I personally helped push at least 3 cars that people were struggling to get out from snowbanks, which frankly was a dangerous activity in and of itself. You know, you've got 27 cooks in that kitchen, and everybody's pushing in a different direction, and it's a miracle we didn't run ourselves over in the process. I think we need to just take a different approach. I think we need to acknowledge that this is just not our strong suit, and it creates a lot of problems for the residents. There, I think, are more effective things that our DPW could be doing during that. We're talking about, some of these proposals talk about, well, storm drains is one, making sure that they're cleared. We're talking about providing some off-street parking, working with the town and the parking lots. That's something that should be a priority, that should be focused on. I think this parking lot and this building should be something we focus on, making it available for residents. I think we should be looking at those types of solutions. I've read the solutions that other people have put out, and I think there are some great ideas in there, and we're foolish if we don't look at them. This is not to bash the DPW. It was a lot of snow, you're absolutely right. You know, we had a lot of contractors, so there's a lot of people involved. I think just managing the storm drains in and of itself in a snowfall like that is a full-time job. So to be responsible for that, the handful of parking lots that we have, and plowing the streets, I think it's just too much to ask of that small group. I think we need to take a different approach.
Madam Mayor, for the word.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Madam,
Yeah, 1 second, I'm sorry.
I've seen Chris and Billy kind of go up and down.
Billy, can you just make it brief, because this is a work session, but if this is regarding.
Did Rita want to say something?
No, because you didn't say anything.
Good evening,
And you make it right after.
Good evening, Mrs. Mayor, members of the board. If somebody had walked the streets of other villages, other municipalities, other townships, other communities, they would come away with the very same idea that, gee, snow plowing isn't one of their strong points. For the simple reason, it was a storm of epic proportions, one of 5 of the greatest storms that ever hit us. We approached that storm 100%. We took the right steps at the proper time, but the sheer volume and frequency of the snowfall, the end result didn't reflect our efforts. And we weren't alone. People that have TVs, if you tuned into any channel, it was enough to stop a locomotive for those who operated trains. So if it could stop a locomotive, it probably could have stopped Superman. And it stopped us, but not for long, because we stayed with it. And the town had 10-wheelers that were stuck. 10-wheelers. We had 8-wheels.
I meant to mention that.
And one more thing before I go. In the
Actually, there's
af-
4 of their trucks that were down when I was in
And
constant
there were,
contact
yes,
with
there were
OEM
probably more
that
than
night
that.
and the town.
Chester's,
Chester's.
Jerry's Towing, all them, they were stressed to the max. And in the aftermath of the storm, I heard a lot of the diatribe and a lot of the scuttlebutt that circulated. And a lot of it was directed at our mayor. And I can tell you right now that this administration should not be held accountable in whole or in part, because each is equally unfair for how this storm was handled. They were at home, on their couch or in their favorite chair, just like everybody else. They weren't in the eye of the storm. So for these Monday morning quarterbacks to take, and they know who they are, there's some right in this room, to take cheap shots, at the mayor, I think is a great disservice. Here's a 3rd-generation person who's trying to do good for the community, and all they get is a black eye, and I think it's very bad. I really do.
Thank you, Billy.
I just want to add, I drove around with the mayor on I think it was Monday?
Monday.
On Monday, because our code enforcement, Kareem had an educational series for his CLEs, his mandatory credits, so we didn't have a code enforcement agent. I didn't get paid to drive around the village. The mayor was making phone calls the entire time, you know, directing plows, directing tow trucks, we were digging out cars. But I think the main thing that I learned is that, and I've already discussed this with the DPW and Leslie, is some of our equipment is dated. You know, I think that if we do have a session on how we can address these storms going forward, I can tell you, we need to change on those trucks, we got them now. We need new snow tires on all the trucks, we got them now, and routine maintenance, which we're not doing. So they were things that I was able to pick up on, and look, I'm an attorney, and you know, all I want to do is assist the mayor and just come up with some ideas. I can tell you that you're watching the news that the plow hasn't come through, but we followed the plow 5 times through the street. It would look good, and then people would shovel into the streets. I never understood. I've been sitting up here for almost 2 years, I guess more than 2 years, and I hear the complaints, and the inclination is to say, well, why don't they just drive the plow through it and it's done? It's not, because some of the plows don't go down to the street. They're not weight heavy enough. And then they go through, and then 10 minutes later, it's ankle deep again. So at least I got to see it firsthand, and I know you guys had a difficult job. And I know the roads that people said weren't plowed, they were gone over 5, 6 times, and we kept going over them. But I saw it firsthand, and look, I think you guys did a great job, but I think you're outgunned. I think the storm
Everybody
required a lot
needed
more.
an assist. It was so intense, by the time you got to one end, you couldn't see the cutting that you made. It was obliterated.
I want to add, though, the governor said on Saturday there was no travel ban until 2 o'clock. So if you're trying to drive on Saturday, you weren't supposed to be on the road to begin with.
No, and there were people out here, because the high density of people going back, you had to contend with that.
We gotta have a meeting on what we can do differently.
Do you have some photos?
I do, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time
All right.
there.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Billy,
your
I'm
time.
sorry,
Thanks, Billy.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Thanks,
You
Billy.
know, I have some pictures that I will share with the board, and I took a ride around on Tuesday after I was back in the village. And I have to say, and I'll show it to the front too, but you can see this picture where, yeah, it's plowed down the middle of the road. okay? And somebody would complain that it's not curb to curb. We have a couple of these. These are all different streets, but guess what? All these streets are in the park section, the town of North Hempstead. The town of North Hempstead that has trucks 3 times the size of ours. And our streets by Tuesday looked 100% better than the park section in the town of North Hempstead. I drove and turned and streets, and I can name every street I was on. And I will tell you that the town that has 20 times the amount of equipment that we have, and bigger trucks, and in areas where there were hardly any cars parked on the street, they did not do as good a job as our guys, because they went back and back and back again. But I think the point that was made, that if you were out on Saturday when the storm started, and remember it snowed all the way through the night, Saturday night into Sunday, until that snow stopped, you can just keep up with it and take another layer and another layer. And then for the next 2 days, they cut them closer to the curb as much as they could to chip away. As Billy said, this was a storm of epic proportions, the second worst storm in the history of New York since they started keeping records. So it was easy to be a naysayer and yeah, you could do better. And the only way you could do it is if you get a big fan and blow the snow back up before it hit the ground. And obviously that's impossible. But these guys did an amazing, amazing job. Better, and I would put our guys up to what they did in the town of North Hempstead, because they never went back. Our guys kept on Tuesday and Monday, but North Hempstead never came back to hit the park section, and that was just the only one that I hit. So the pictures are here for anybody who wants to see it.
Trustee Rena?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on.
It's really a work session, I
Well,
know.
I don't understand. I wish you could explain what you're doing here. I thought it was a work session,
It is
and
a work-
nobody was supposed to talk.
I allowed the highway guys to speak because this is about the
So
snow.
are you discussing with one another?
Yes,
Like, you
we're
were at
talking
the
about-
table the last time,
Right.
I'm just confused.
Right, we're just up at the dais because we anticipated a larger crowd this evening, so we're up here, but we're just talking amongst ourselves, there's really no public comment.
So if we're not supposed, that's, okay, so this is a work session,
This is a work session.
because you're addressing everything this way, so
Well,
I'm.
we're speaking.
It's only because we thought the room was gonna be packed with chairs this way, and we would have had to move the tables up against the dais. We've had so many people come to all the meetings, so.
All right, trustee Avina?
Yeah, following up what trustee Gaten said, I think one of the major problems is that the equipment, we just have a limited amount of equipment. So it's real difficult to call upon the equipment to function for 36, 48 straight hours. I understand, well, I think we have to look at alternatives, and I agree with Kevin said that the highway department would still be very useful in terms of helping. But the major work, we need more equipment, we need more men. As far as, and bigger equipment even. The point also I'd like to make is I think some of the residents complained, but there were a lot of complaints. I agree with Billy said, there were certainly enough complaints throughout the village. But what also, the problem was in terms of trucks, I guess, were hired, additional contractors were brought on board, which in itself, I think, presented somewhat of a problem. And that brings up other questions as to did they have the necessary insurance, et cetera. So I think we have to take a look at it in total, what it did cost us, what the possible alternatives are. A couple of the other complaints that I heard were that there was no sand available, that the, well,
That was an act, that's not.
that was
true.
an accurate,
Yeah.
okay.
Not true.
I think the other mistake that we collectively made as a village was not
What
to
do we use, I'm
establish.
sorry, we used 35 tons of
We
salt
used about
and sand?
35 tons
Okay.
of the 77 that we had on hand. As a matter of fact, this year, the
Okay,
town of
I
North
got it.
Hempstead borrowed from
I got it.
us.
I
got it too.
think that, no, I was told that. I thought we should have set up a command headquarters here at the village. I walked down here Sunday morning at 7:15, and I called Mayor Junta, she working, I don't question that. and she said that she wanted to operate from her house. So I walked the street for the next 2 hours, and there was a lot of problems up there.
No, that's not what actually, you asked me if I was gonna sit at Village Hall, and I said I was gonna be out assessing and
And I said, originally, on Thursday night before the storm, Madam Mayor, at a BOT meeting, I asked, you said that you and Leslie were going to establish command headquarters here. I asked what the village trustees could do, and you said, just be all hands on deck.
All hands on deck is what I said.
I understand, but I think we should have had the village open to allow the residents to come and voice their complaints, and I would have been able.
Jim, they weren't able to get out of their
They couldn't.
house.
Well, on Sunday, late afternoon, you were able to get out of your house. I mean, I walked out of my house, half a mile from here.
Trustee, I think that's
And
where
I
we
cer-
drove around and seen them all
And I
through
certainly
the
would have manned the
village.
phones and listened to some complaints or whatever, just to make the residents feel better they were speaking to village officials. I appreciate what the staff did, I'm not taking away, but I think the bigger problem is, let's look at alternatives. Let's think beyond what we normally do here. It's really tough for the highway department to fight conditions like that. The other villages which outsource their snow removal seem to have fared better during the storm. So I think you're right, and let's explore all the alternatives. Let's see if we come up with a compromise that makes it a lot easier, and move on from there.
Okay, thank you. Trustee DeLucia?
I'm not that I'm gonna direct you guys, but I am. No one's saying you did a bad job. Residents are gonna complain. I was talking to someone on the phone, and I was getting phone calls myself, and I said, it's snow, it's gonna melt. We just need to calm down, and eventually we're gonna get out. But you know what? Everybody, like Chris said, everybody went to Stop and Shop, everybody bought their food and their water. So a day or two, we had to stress it out a little bit, we did. The guys did as best they could with the storm that we had, but again, I do feel the same as Kevin and Mr. Avina, Trustee Avina, I'm sorry. That maybe it's the equipment, like you said it broke down and whatnot, we have to take a look at that. I don't even know if we can afford to buy new equipment, that is so outdated. So maybe we do have to consider outsourcing. We have to look at, again, we have to have an alternate plan put in place. Hiring these guys left and right, whoever was free, come on down, it's a free-for-all. Chris, like you said, I know there was 4 plows on my block alone, and they didn't touch any of one of us. So I know what you're saying there too. I was out there shoveling myself. The guy was across the street, his plow was sitting right in front of his driveway. He could have done the whole street if he wanted to. He didn't, because he wasn't getting paid for it, and I understand that. But I agree. No one's saying that you did a bad job. Of course, you're going to have the 50, 60, 100 residents yelling and screaming. We all did. We all took the phone calls. We all fielded the phone calls, believe me.
Yeah.
My phone is listed. It's not unlisted. So it's very easily to get my phone number, and I like it that way, because I want to hear what people have to say, and I want to know that they can count on me, and I'm going to try to do the best I can to accommodate them. But like you said, there was a storm that nobody knew we were going to get what we got. And you know what? Thank God we just got that, because if everyone remembered last year what we went through, it was one right after the other, and we never got dug out. We would still be sitting in our houses right now, not even having a meeting. We were stuck in our houses. So, but I definitely think we do need an alternate plan, and we need to look at the equipment. I definitely do agree with that. And that's all. But I do. I think you guys deserve an applause for the job. Trying to be the best. I said, but there's got to be something else. We have to find a better way. We don't, listen, you guys are human too. We don't want, you have families. We don't want you to get hurt either. We don't need you out there 24, 26, 28 hours, steady. You need the help too. We don't want you guys to hurt, risk your lives. That was a really bad storm. There was an ambulance stuck at the end of my block for 2 hours. Did you know that? Yeah. 2 hours there was an ambulance stuck at the end of my block, because no matter what they could do,
Is
they
it
couldn't.
Saturday?
Yep.
Saturday.
And the
So
second
we're still
ambulance came,
snowing.
got stuck too.
And got stuck too.
But we managed to get that one out.
On the ambulance note, Mr. Nozalisi, who passed away recently, they had sent an ambulance to take him for dialysis, and he went down Mount Airy Boulevard and couldn't get up Dunes Lane. So the ambulance went back around through Sands Point and couldn't get down Dunes Lane.
Oh my
So he was there for a couple of hours. Pardon me? Yeah, he was there for a couple of hours. It wasn't a life and death, but he had to take it to the hospital for dialysis.
Right.
So, well, unfortunately, he did pass away.
No, I'm not because of that.
I mean, I see Chris in the back just boiling over. And Chris, hang on one second. Listen, I think you're clearly upset by this, and I think you're looking at it the wrong way.
No.
Now, let me
just wanted
finish.
to say one thing about that dual
Chris,
lane thing.
I'm gonna
I was on
insist,
call for that.
Chris, I'm gonna insist that you let me finish,
Of course.
okay? When I go around and I'm hearing from my neighbors on my street, or Cambridge, or Linwood, or Ashwood, or wherever people were complaining about, and you'd say, you know, I can't tell you the number of times people said to me, I saw the village truck going down the street with the plow raised. I heard that endlessly. But then I had other people saying, I saw the Cow Bay truck going down the street with the plow raised. So now who is it? Who do you blame? Right? Because unless somebody, let me finish. So unless somebody has evidence of it, you know, unless somebody filmed it or took a picture of it, we have no idea who did that. It's all hearsay, right? But if we take this problem, if you think about it, the DPW gets taken to task for two things endlessly in this village, right? You guys get taken to task for the snow removal, and you get taken to task for the street sweeping, right? You got plenty of other stuff to do that nobody complains about, because evidently you're doing a good job, right? Because nobody's complaining about it. But endlessly we hear complaints about those two things, right? So let's take that off your plate. Let's make you not be, let me finish, let's make you not be the victim, right? Instead, you guys get to be the police who go out afterwards and make sure that the company we hired did a good job. So when people complain about the vendor we hired to do the snow plowing or the street sweeping didn't do a good job, we can send you guys out after them to make sure that they do it right, right? And then you're not at fault, they're at fault. And we have somebody to hold accountable. And if the equipment breaks, that's their problem, because they have a contract that says that they have to do this job and they have to provide the necessary equipment. And we don't care if their truck broke down, get another truck. Subcontract if you must, right? It becomes their problem and their expense. Right? I think we can come up with a creative way to contract with them where, you know, we can properly incentivize them through the way we pay them. You know, if they didn't do a good job, we can withhold payment until, you know, based on metrics we define for satisfaction.
The other three
May I
villages
say something now,
outsource.
please? May I say something?
Can I finish? I just want to.
No, I just want to respond. I'd like to
I just want
respond.
to finish what Kevin
What was said,
said.
hold on.
Mr. Avina, hold on, Chris, hold on.
Hold on, Mr. Avina, let me just say one thing. Kevin, all due respect. We got 29 inches, almost 30 inches. You said you were ankle deep. That's after a whole night of plowing, you were only ankle deep. There were tons of snow being thrown in the street. Also, I'd like to, that's all I'm just gonna say about that, okay? Mrs. Prudenti, Mrs. Linda Prudenti contacted the emergency call. I was on call. She told me, she was in the shower actually when I called back. She told me that they were going for dialysis in about an hour.
Well, I'd rather
I
you didn't mention
immediately
the
sent
present
them down there
days.
to clear
Yeah.
Doones Lane so that they could get there. Okay, that's, also, you're talking about taking this away and you're trying to go outside contractors. I pay enough taxes here as a homeowner. I'm not also only an employee, I'm a homeowner. I want my taxes, I pay my mortgage and my taxes by working here and serving you guys. That's what I hear. I tried and killed myself to get this job, and I would never let any of yous down. I don't mean any disrespect to any of the other people that worked here before, but we all know how it was. It was one swipe down the middle, and that was it. That's how it was for years.
You're wrong.
Okay,
I'm
no
not
calling out, no calling out.
All right,
And then that's
guys.
it, we're not gonna turn this into an
Chris,
argument.
Chris,
I'm
Chris.
sorry that you want, but
Chris,
you're gonna
no,
take
Chris,
this-
listen, I think we need.
You're basing something on a 29-inch snowfall that now you
All right.
want to outsource it.
That's enough.
We've handled 6
Chris,
inches, 12
Chris,
inches.
Chris,
All
you
last
have to
year we
stop
handled
viewing
it.
this as a personal attack, because it's not.
It's just a discussion, Chris,
It
like
was- I know,
everything
but it
else,
was
honey.
fine
And you
last
know
year.
what? I know, and you
No,
know
it
what?
wasn't fine last year,
I
we had
know.
the same discussion last year.
You're taking
We
it
had the exact
personally, you
same
need to
discussion
step
last
back,
year.
you need to step back and take it personally. I know you are the type of person, you have the biggest heart, Chris, and you have to step back a little bit and have a little thick skin and separate
very
your
thick
personal,
skin.
I know, separate your
Masiello.
personal and I know, and you care so much about your job, you wanna do the best you
Mr.
can.
Masiello, please.
So you just You gotta calm down a little bit,
I
it's
am
all
right now.
discussion.
No, you are.
I don't want you to be
are
upset.
calm, but Chris, this is an offline discussion.
You want
And I just want to say that Chris
that we have
was the
to
one
do
that
not
was
want you
injured
upset.
during the snowstorm, so. And I just want to say, you all worked very hard, and I want to thank you again, but I just don't want this to become heated. And let's just leave it at that for now.
Mr. Avito,
I just,
Trustee Avito.
taking off from what Mr. Gately just said, there's nothing wrong with looking at alternatives. The other 3 villages in the area outsource their snow removal. I don't know what the expense is, but we certainly will know what our expense is after this last snowstorm. And I think the overriding issue is availability of equipment. If we hire a company like Snowlift, a major company, they'll come in, they'll bid on a job, we'll see what it comes out to, what we're spending, and come up with a answer to all of our problems, being keep an eye on costs as well as getting the job done. The equipment we have is not enough equipment. And I don't think we have it in our capital budget to go out and buy new equipment. And the other point that Kevin made on street sweeping, we had started a project a while ago to look at alternatives for outsourcing street sweeping. And as Kevin said, it's no big deal if we just move some of the responsibilities to another area and still have the DPW function in the job that they could do for the village. That's all.
And I heard something Billy just said, okay? And I'm gonna challenge Leslie and Giovanna a little bit with this, okay? Billy just threw a name out there as Mr. Avino was speaking, right? Because he's clearly got an assumption about, you know, that a vendor's been selected. Well, let's say this.
What name?
Let me, you just said to John, okay? You did, you said it out loud and I heard it. So, here's what I'd like to see happen as far as this goes. I would like to see bids solicited from every company in Nassau County that does snow removal for one or more other municipalities. And I would like to see those bids published on our website for at least a week before we hold a public hearing on those bids. Right? Let's let there not be any, you know, we'll put it out there for the whole world to see. These are all the bids. If there are questions that we ask them and they give responses, those should be posted too. Put it out there for the whole world to see. So that there can be no discussion around, you know, did somebody get favoritism? Did somebody, was it a fair and open process? Let it be a fair and open process, right? Then we'll have a public hearing about it. We'll give everybody an opportunity to have viewed those bids and come in and say their piece about it. I think that's the fairest way to do it.
Amen to that.
Okay, no, I'm done going back and forth, but honestly,
on.
This is ridiculous.
I just want to,
We're not working. We're all talking to the choir.
okay, we're gonna move on. Thank you very much. I am gonna move on to the second item on the agenda. Sorry, just one minute.
Police report.
I have the, pardon me? That's all right. I'm moving on to the police report. We in Manorhaven are extremely fortunate to be served by Nassau County Police. I just want to say on the Monday of the storm at 5 a.m., when Leslie's mom was in the hospital, we had an emergency in Manorhaven as well. The Friday before the storm, our 604 car on patrol in Manorhaven responded to a resident who apparently went into cardiac arrest. Having 2 men in that car, I think, made a difference. One was able to start chest compressions while the other went to get a defibrillator, which ultimately saved this resident's life. And I just want to thank Officer Kinfoyle and Sullivan for that. And also on behalf of the village, I did write a letter to the inspector thanking both officers. And I also want to say, because I know you have something to report on Port Police, that I am very thankful for their service as well and pleased with them. So you may say what you need to say.
Yeah, I recently turned over a report to the commissioners of the Port Washington Police Department as well as the inspector, which shows basically a 2-year history of the activity in Manorhaven. Each month in your packet, you receive a monthly police report from the command outlining incidents. So I gave them the monthlies for 2 years as well as the summary for each one of those years. They had a meeting on Wednesday. I don't know what took place. They said they're moving the project along at one time, at sometime in the future. Could be a couple of weeks, could be a month. They will get back with whether they're even considering it, and then have a discussion on it and what the cost would be. So that's what we have to date.
Okay, thank you. Rita?
Nope.
Oh, I thought there was something. No. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next item, which is Vision Long Island. Priscilla? I know you had wanted to go, want the podium, so.
Well, if I talk this way, I'm talking to them, and this is for your information, so I figured that I'll stand here and talk to you, okay? I prefer being at a table myself. You have one, right?
Thank you.
That's yours. So I've given you a packet here. And the very first page you have is the, you know that I'm in charge of the business section and vision, okay? So this is, I'm gonna do this in two parts. This is the vision part. Did I not give you one?
No, Leslie didn't get one, or there's not one for the village attorney, but I'll share with him. This is for Leslie.
Thanks so much.
I'm gonna do the report in two reports. One is the vision side, and then I'll do the other side, which will be the Manorhaven Boulevard part, the business part. So the first thing in your packet, many of you have asked me about vision and their hours and how much they're going to charge us and if there's going to be any more. I had a meeting and they assured me that they have spent far more of their hours than they had contemplated, but they are not charging us for those hours because they want us to be happy and they want us to get the full, everything that they have promised us. So with that in mind, they still have to do, to get together with us to decide exactly what we want, to have another meeting with the public to give them the ideas that we've come up with after the first meeting that they had, and then lastly, for us to make decisions about what we're going to do in the end. The second thing that you have here is the work session that we had on December 14th, and what we talked about. And one of the things I put in red was we talked about traffic calming at that meeting, and we talked about bicycle lanes, and we talked about pedestrian crosswalking. And apparently we are going to have to continue talking about that because the Manorhaven Boulevard will be repaved either in the spring, the summer, or the fall, but they will be done as soon as we can get to them and tell them what we want. So I had a meeting of a committee that I formed for the business section and for vision. And when we had the meeting, Vision came, and they brought the December 1st literature that we had at our work session, and they went over it with us because my meeting was basically a meeting for finding out what has been done, what was done, what is going to be done. I should just read what I wrote, right? In order to attract new businesses to Manorhaven, we have to present a clean, beautiful, and well-maintained presence. In 2012, the first phase to accomplish this task was a grant to beautify the plot in front of the DPW, and Roy is here. Roy, if I misspeak, would you please correct me? This is how I understand it, though, because it's history and I wasn't here at the time.
Yeah, this is a work session, so
I know.
I'm sorry for you.
I know it, but I don't want to say something to you that's wrong, so this is how I understand it. Anyway, they did a rain garden, a devil strip, and sidewalks, and made the place beautiful. And anyone that makes their turn into Manorhaven Boulevard from Shore Road, and so the right side, it covers the DPW, and it's very, very nice. It's a lovely thing. We also, at that time, I think that we got grants from BID to beautify some of the storefronts. And one of the storefronts, I think, was the Knights of Columbus, and they really did a good job of that. The problem was, a lot of the businesses, even though they got some grants, they weren't enough to be useful to them. They didn't have enough money to do some of the work. So as a liaison for the vision business sector, I would like to work with a committee to beautify this area. And we're going to be concentrating at this point on curbs, sidewalks, and Manorhaven Boulevard. And we're hoping, and we spoke about this at the work session, that we can attract some stable restaurants and some boutique stores. But it's sort of like which comes first, the egg or the chicken? Because people don't want to come unless it's beautiful, and it's not going to get beautiful unless we have enough money to have people pay for the taxes for it. So we're going to be trying to work in tandem getting that done. Do you want to know who is on my committee? Are you interested in that?
Priscilla, I'm not knocking your efforts here, because I think this is a great project, but a project of this, guys, a project of this size, where we're spending this kind of money, should really come before the Board of Trustees.
It definitely will. Everything comes to me.
No, I don't think that, you know.
I agree, not only that, but I don't think we didn't have any input on selecting anybody as well, I mean, just.
For my committee?
Yeah.
It's open. If you'd like to select someone, you can.
But what Rita's trying, I agree with Rita, it should really come before the board before.
All right, so I'm going to bring this before you right now. Let me tell you who's on my
Right, but
committee.
it was
No,
brought
no, no,
before
but what I'm saying is, a liaison position, from what I understand is, we're not really touching money from the budget.
I've not touched a penny from the
But
budget.
Vision is someone we hire where the money does come from the budget. So when you have your meetings, we're really paying for those
No, you're
meetings
not.
that you're coming.
You're not. I
Okay,
just-
he's giving you a couple of freebies, but coming forward, he's not gonna give you a lot of freebies. There's
The
not
only
gonna be
reason
many.
they were here was to get my committee up to date on what they had done so far, because they hadn't been on the committee when Vision started.
Right, well, we all should have been up to date because we all had the meeting with them first.
Well, you were up to date because you were at all the meetings, but they were not up to date because they'd never been at the meetings.
I understand that, but forming a committee on a project of this size should be the Board of Trustees, not,
Well, you are the ultimate committee, and if you want to come to all my committee members, every single one of you.
now when you have a 2:00 meeting, I can't be there.
I'll make it at your time. I'll make it at your time.
Okay, I just don't
But, you know,
agree.
you're having code liaison meetings and you're saying.
I'm
that
not
we-
spending any money, but I'm not spending
but
any
you're
money
saying
on the
that none-
budget,
yes.
and I'm sitting down with residents, not in form a committee, I'm sitting down with residents who have complaints, and we're sitting down listening to their complaints.
So you'd like me to do this on my own, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying do it
Oh,
on your own.
All right.
So
So,
what I'm saying is that this whole vision thing, every time there's a meeting, it should be presented to the board first,
It
not
was.
given to your committee and then given to us, and then,
All right.
like, we had already discussed the bike path was not gonna work. We discussed the diagonal parking was not gonna work. We discussed that the better the turning lanes, so we all kind of know what's going on, but I don't know what happened in the additional meeting after that.
in the initial meeting, they told us the bike lanes won't work, the diagonal parking won't work.
Okay, so that was a waste of time.
Well, maybe to you, but to my committee it wasn't, so we were happy. And that was only part of what we did, okay? That was our vision part. On the other part, we were in the Manorhaven Boulevard part. And I think that I should, now that you've said that, introduce who my committee people are, because I think it's important. Because it sounds like they're nobodies, but they really aren't. The first person on my committee is Jennifer Wilson Pines.
I
And
know
she
very
was-
well. She was a former trustee, she was former environmental commissioner, she was part of the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee,
And
she
works
now
for the
works for Delia.
legislature, right.
Exactly. Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My second person that working for me is Roy Smithheimer here, and he was president of BID, who did the rain garden. And also, he worked on the facades, if I'm not mistaken. And he came to the
We
first
received a lot of
meeting.
complaints about that raid garden, but that's for another day.
Yes, and you know,
They were all, residents were disappointed. in
and
it.
also, the Nassau County, who approved it and loved it and thought it was a great idea, have now changed their mind as well, and they say it didn't work. But it was an experiment they tried, and in several places, and now they're no longer allowed to have any rain gardens. You're correct there. Okay. Roy is the one that brought the 2 packets that you have in the back of your folder.
Right,
I had-
why
Did you ever
are we
find-
only getting these packets tonight? I mean, this is what, this
We
is,
didn't
this was
do-
my.
This is what a work session's for. I was like,
It's
supposed to
a
give
work
it to you at a
session,
board
but we should have
meeting?
been privy to these before the work session, and that was my complaint with you.
That's fine, that's fine. So then this next one, the next person, I only have 4 people on my committee, is Dolores Kazanjian O'Brien. She was a professor and practitioner of public administration with a master's degree in the field from NYU, and she worked in the city of in New York. And then last but not least is Michelle Roper, and she's an avid environmentalist and sustainability project worker. And she's also helping me to identify trees that need pruning in the Devil's Strip. So the first agenda for our committee was to make Manorhaven viable and beautiful. And we are definitely only advisory to the board. We're not making any decisions at all. We're just making suggestions. All right, second part, the Manorhaven Boulevard. I think I already discussed at the last work session that I wanted to have a bus shelter, and when I went to see Delia, she said, why was I thinking so small? Please give her an estimate for 2 bus shelters, trash receptacles, planters, benches, which we did. We are asking for 2 bus shelters, 5 trash receptacles. Actually, she didn't say anything about trash receptacles. She only said something about planters and benches. And I said to her, well, while on a roll, do you mind if we could include trash receptacles? Because we certainly need them. So we have 5 trash, 5 planters, 2 benches, and 2 bus shelters. And we have handed her an estimate.
Wait, I'm sorry. 5 trash, how many planters?
5 planters.
5 planters.
2, it's in your folder.
Oh,
You
I
wanna
just
show
started
the,
writing.
It's in your folder.
Show
Okay.
the picture of the,
Oh. You know, the thing is that I gave Judy Bosworth a picture of the,
no, but you had it today.
Uh,
It came in early.
well, this isn't actually it, but this is it. It's a little different because it's going to be a little narrower than that. And I have a book
Is that
which...
similar to the one that is in front of Main Street School? It's not Main Street School anymore, what is it called?
Yeah, but it's not going to have any advertising on it. I don't think we should put advertising on it.
No, it's like that size is what I'm talking about.
No, a little smaller. Well, it depends, because we have to shove this into the park area, because the sidewalk isn't deep enough, so I have to have a breakthrough.
Right, so you can't cover the sidewalk that people go, so you only can do the curb space.
Exactly, and that's too narrow. So what Jim and I went to see Judy Bosworth, and when we got there,
When you go, just for reference, because I know I was with them when they did I was not involved, but I went to all the meetings for Port North, and they did the day walk, and you know how they have the bus shelter there?
yep,
So.
I don't care for that one. I don't know
No,
about
but
you.
I'm just saying, what their problem, they had the same problem, they couldn't walk past it because it was too big. So
Right.
what they did was, they kind of cut into the other side. So the sidewalk kind of goes like this around the bus shelter.
We don't have that privilege. I
That's
don't.
what I was asking you,
Yeah.
do you know
Does it-
where you're thinking of putting it? Do we have access where we can cut a little bit in there?
Well, the 2 places that I think are best, but I haven't come to the board to ask them, but this is where I think they should go, and I certainly get your permission. One is before Rio Ranchito, because that's where all the people who come down Goose Lane, and that whole area, there's always a lot of people there. The other place, I think, is on Shore Road, where the drive-through bank is, across the street from Bowtie, or the wine shop.
Oh, on the corner of Black Tie?
Yes, but not on that side, on
The other side.
on the bank side.
She's where, what is that, the Wells Fargo?
Oh, right.
Yeah, Wells Fargo, I think that's a good
Right,
one.
that's what you're talking about, right.
If you take the bus in the morning, in front of me, Ranchito is probably one of the busier stops. By the police booth in front of the park, always picks up a lot of people. In front, across the street from here, in front of the the deli always has a lot of people, and,
Right, if you do,
those are the four busiest.
I agree with you exactly.
right, if you do by the police booth, that is Town of Hempstead property, so maybe you can
So
cut
it's
into
really
it.
Ranchito.
Ranchito, yeah.
That's what it is too.
Because it's across from me, Ranchito, it's right on the corner.
Oh, I was thinking in front of me, okay, you're talking about the other side.
It has to be the other side, because they drop them off on the Ranchito side. So they're going home, they don't need to wait for a bus. So it's always the other side.
Got it.
All right, so anyway, Jim and I visited Judy Bosworth because we wanted to ask her permission to put it on town property, because that's town property on that side of the road. And when we got there, we were stunned to find that she ushered into this room, a big conference room with 9 of her people there. So we presented it to them, they had everybody there, and,
No, I would like to have known about that meeting. I wasn't told about that.
well, it took a long, and she canceled several times, it was a long time. In the future, if you can make it at 10 in the morning, let me
Meeting with
know.
the supervisor, I would like to be present at that meeting, but.
So anyway, I'm now working with Rachel Brim, Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, to get permission from the Park Commissioner to see if we can slip that in, just cut the fence apart and just slip it in.
Right. You know what, I have one more question for you.
Yep.
The bus shelter, the trash receptacle, the planters, the benches, that's all from like Nassau County grants?
Yes.
Is it
From
the CB?
Delia. Delia's gonna give me the money.
Okay, but what grant? What's the
She's
name
just
of
giving
it?
me the money, it's not a grant.
Nassau County's just giving us money.
CRP.
She says she has access to it.
Well, I
I
think
don't have
Debbie
to write
Greco in
anything.
the back works for Delia, so I
I'm
think
sorry,
she
they're
was
they're
answered.
considered CRPs, community.
What is it considered?
Community
They're
revitalization
community-
project.
Thank you, yeah.
But it's not the CBGB,
No.
No.
because we can't do both, right? That's why I
No.
wanna make sure that
No.
we're not,
No.
because I don't know
CDBG
if she
at all.
knows that we're using it and we're not double dipping. Okay,
No.
One
she
is
can't.
county, one is federal, that comes through the county.
Right.
okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean for you to
That's
call
okay.
out.
Okay, last but not least, Delia wants us to meet with the design committee where our plans for the Manorhaven Boulevard are right now. They've had all the surveys and everything, and she wants us to meet with the mayor, I've already contacted you about that, me, Vision, and Aria, who is the head of the DPW for Nassau County. And apparently, there is many things that are new that we don't even know about yet, that they are beginning to put into roads, and they want to discuss that with us. But I think we have to have a meeting before we go to see the design committee to talk about what we want. We know what we don't want. We don't want a bus lane, a bicycle lane, and we don't want diagonal parking. And I would like to talk to the board because I would like to talk about a bicycle lane. We have a street 50 feet wide, which is extraordinarily wide, and it would be possible to put a bicycle lane in. And I don't know how many of you go down the middle of the road at night, or drive down Manorhaven at night, when you see a bicycle rider dressed in black with black pants, riding down the middle of the street in a bicycle, and you can barely see them at night. So I think that if we had, even if we just had one lane on one side, it would be safer for the bike. We have a lot of bicyclists here, a lot of the people who go to work on their bicycles, so it's not like we're just cars. So anyway, I'd like to make a request that we have a special meeting to discuss the roads, because we certainly don't want them to pave it in a way that we don't want them to be paved.
Any money for sewers?
No, I don't, no.
I'm just saying, before we repave the road, might as well fix the sewer underneath it, I was just
Well,
thinking.
it's interesting because I talked to REA about that, and REA says they will not pave the road until the sewer is done, because they paved a road and 2 weeks later had to pull it up again because of sewers, so they're gonna
I
check
think
your
we need to
sewers.
meet with the engineer and
Yeah,
go over.
they're gonna check to make sure that our sewers and our storm drains are okay. The storm drains have to be free and clear too.
So what does it, what does it take for us to get a meeting, to get a session where we can have the engineer come in and give us an update on where everything is? Something that we can do in the next.
Well, we talked about getting a camera, didn't we? Did we buy a camera? Giovanna.
I'm sorry, Mr. Torrance talking to me at the same time, I apologize.
We talked about buying, at the last work session, you said you wanted to buy a camera
Yeah,
to
we
put
haven't
down, because that
purchased
would be
it yet.
cheaper than getting somebody to look at it. And also, Jennifer tells me that they had a big sewer study done by Sidney and Bound,
Oh, many, that was before I even got on the board.
2008.
2008.
No,
It
no.
was 2006.
Yes.
My question was this, because I
Because
reviewed,
I wasn't on the board and I heard about it.
I gotta ask you a question. I reviewed all the minutes from 2006 forward. There seems to be an indication that there was an entire sewer line repaired. The village.
Yes,
I was
exactly.
here, don't look at me.
We paid
Exactly,
approximately $800,000 to a company. I
exactly.
can get you the name of the company, but I'm not, was the work done, is the question. And if that's the case, then maybe the answer to whether we got to repair the sewer line beneath the street,
I
it
wasn't
may have been
there.
done already, because there was a major.
Well, this
major
is one
sewer
of the
line.
reasons I have Jennifer on my committee, because she was
She
here
was-
at that
Jennifer was on
time,
it.
and
I'll
she
get you the name of
knew.
the street and the information on
Jennifer
it.
was on it.
I know,
She was a trustee.
may I, because I can add to the discussion here. It's my recollection is that the pipes were all replaced on Manorhaven Boulevard
Manorhaven
during that
Boulevard.
period of time. Sidney Bound was the engineer.
Was it actually done? Was it actually done?
It was, because the road was dug up, they had to replace the pipes. Because they were
I know we paid the bill for it, so.
So
And
we,
that was a result of a study from Bound, like you said.
right. Well, when she told me that, I said, let's get the report and look at it, but,
We don't have those in the
We don't have a
records
report.
here. at
I'll
the
try to get it
village.
available. I'm just trying to get the piece together that whole year with the
You
village.
think Sidney Bound still has something from 2006?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
well, we should have the
We
records.
paid
No, we don't
Sidney
have
Baum, I can say
Why?
this, we paid Sidney Baum an extraordinary amount of money. I'll just say that for now.
Well, Jennifer thought that it was $1 million bond that we took
It was
out.
$1 million bond, we
Yeah,
spent
that's the
800 on the
bond.
project.
Yeah.
But there were months that Baum was getting paid like 40 grand. It's extraordinary payments that I've been looking at. And I'd like to report to the board at another time on it.
We're going back to that.
Going back to
time?
that era, between 2006 and 2008.
Well, because we have our two known trouble spots on Manorhaven Boulevard, right?
Absolutely, and they've got to be cleared up, one way or the other.
So if we're gonna talk about repaving, and we're gonna be talking about sewers, there are things we can probably have done to provide better access to those sewer lines, like putting a vault on the side street as opposed to in the middle of Manorhaven Boulevard, so that we don't have to disrupt the traffic pattern as much, and provide access to whoever's gonna be maintaining it.
I think that's a great
And we should
idea.
be talking to the engineers about ways to, be proactive about maintaining the system.
Right.
Because we know we have areas that we're constantly having to blow out, and every time we do, there's, 16 cones and a truck with a thing in the middle of the street.
I agree, and
And
it's
if there's
dangerous.
a way to alleviate that so that you don't have to dig up the street and you can provide access without making it such a hazard, we should look at it.
I agree, I agree.
Once again, just to add to the discussion, it's my understanding that the county's plan at the moment is just to resurface, re-asphalt. Whatever, the decision is to work with them, it's up to you guys, but
Well, I'm,
that's the present
Roy,
plan.
I'm sorry.
Cosmetic.
So
Yeah.
it's like that.
That's just what I'm trying to say, is that what they want to do is they want us to get together about the design of the road, where to put the turnoffs, whether we want to put it, how we want it marked, whether we want a center lane in it, maybe putting something down the center. What they're trying to do is calm the street. This is the new thing, and calming a street means trying to make the traffic go a little slower. Now, I know that probably the residents don't like to hear that, but this is the new Nassau County way of looking at things, and they want to try to calm Manorhaven Boulevard down, and one of the ways to do it is to just bring it in a little. It's very, very wide.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Okay, so I reiterate, the thing where we are now is we need to have a meeting to discuss this.
All right, thank you, Priscilla.
Let me know.
All right, Madam
I
Clerk?
just wanted to add something. I know it's not a meeting where we vote on anything, but several months ago, and I'm glad Priscilla just mentioned this, I met with our state senator, and we had read something in the paper that he was getting a grant for traffic calming and to get a radar speed sign. Met with him that day, and I just got confirmation that we are being granted one in the village. So and they want to do this, and we can do a resolution on the 25th, either a stationary or a mobile.
Right.
What I saw based on what you sent, the mobile is they're just giving us a mobile sign, not the apparatus you mount it to.
I'm not
So
positive.
are
I
we
can
then on the hook
ask.
to go buy the wagon that this thing
I'm
is
not
connected to?
positive if that is true or not. One of the
Which we already
things
have.
though
We have
that,
one already.
but-
With a sign on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but do we need I mean, if we're gonna have a second sign, it goes on a second.
No, we don't have that, but I'm just saying, we already own one.
I
we
think we
do
should
own
buy
one,
one.
but
I think if
they wanna
anything, it
order
should
it by
be stationary.
Tuesday, so I was hoping that I could get some consensus this evening from all of you so that they can put in the order for what we want in Manorhaven.
But if we're-
And this is not a
The
grant,
only thing-
this is just.
It's a grant, it's a giveaway.
Right, we
It's
already
free.
have a mobile
I would say
speed sign,
stationary.
so I would say stationary. but again,
Stationary,
it's up to the
and
board.
there's a place that we would want to put it.
Right, I
There
know
would
that
always
we
be.
did put one on Cambridge, so I don't know if there's one in Manhasset Isle, that, a street in Manhasset Isle that.
On Manhasset Avenue, on
Manhasset
the,
Avenue or somewhere else, or.
Yeah, I know a
some-
lot of people complaining about the speeding on,
The truck route.
the truck route.
Right, that's a possibility, because I know that there were stop signs removed from that truck route, so maybe that's, an option, or maybe.
well, that's why I'm wondering whether it's
So-
easier to have maybe two that are movable, that they can leave during the day when we hear reports on Cambridge, we can move it to Cambridge, and then people won't know where it is.
I personally
It's up
would-
to you, but I do need to know by, so that they can order it by Tuesday,
I
so.
personally would like to see a stationary, I don't think we need another mobile, speed sign.
All right, can I get a
So we
sense
don't
of
have to
board-
write a grant for this at all?
It's already written, and I begged him, and I said, one of the things at every meeting
I'm sorry,
that
in the
we
back,
hear-
please.
One of the things that we hear at every meeting is that there's so much speeding throughout Manorhaven. We do have the one portable one, which a woman had backed into, it's a little dented now. But, is the sense that we should ask for a stationary or
Why
a
not,
movable?
why not a portable one, where we could put it where it needed?
Well, because we have one of those already.
And we have a stationary one on Furwood, so I think,
I
that.
thought maybe just another stationary
Right, I
one.
think, and maybe the truck route would be
Because just
later.
Because like Kevin said, we might not have the apparatus, or they're not gonna give us the apparatus for a mobility
I
one.
think we should ask.
Okay,
Because if they're gonna give us the whole kit and caboodle, right? With the car, get the portable, because you
Okay.
can put it anywhere you want.
Yeah, that
You
makes
can move
sense
it.
to me.
okay, so if it comes with the cart, you want the
I don't think
portable?
so either, and we
and
own
if you-
one, and I think that we need one on the truck route, because again, we have residential on the right-hand side of that truck route. I think that maybe a speed sign should, go there. That's my, opinion. I mean, Cambridge has one already, we have our mobile that we could kind of position wherever we needed to in the village, so.
Can I just say, how many kind of think portable?
Why don't you just take a vote on the part, on the,
Well, go ahead.
mobile or stationary?
Count
Yeah, I think portable,
portable,
yeah.
Portable.
portable,
You know,
stationary,
Portable.
portable,
Portable only if we get the apparatus, if not, then stationary.
then stationary.
Yeah.
What she said.
What she said, okay, stationary if no apparatus.
Because I don't wanna get something that then
And
compels
pay
us to
for it.
spend
And then we
money.
have to spend
Exactly.
money, no, we wanna keep it free, okay,
You stick with portable.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Purpose of,
Can we just,
Advice of counsel.
can we just go through some of these things
Can we
quickly?
just go over a couple of the minor points on the work session, please?
Just quickly.
What would you like to bring up?
Well, I'll start if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
We've asked, the board has asked the village clerk for an overtime report for the last couple of months, and we haven't gotten it.
I thought you wanted the overtime for the storm, that's why I did 30.
No, this is
Okay.
going back to November.
All right, so
This is
from
an
what date to
email
what
from
date?
Trustee Belushi, since.
From what date to what date?
There was an
Between when
overtime
and
report
when?
that Randy did. Was it Randy? Not Randy.
Randy
Maybe
Brady?
Kevin
Yeah.
Sanchez, or, I
Oh,
don't know.
no, I don't remember, it was a young boy.
I think it was Kevin,
Kevin?
not Kevin, Michael Sanchez. Okay, nevertheless, just have it ready for the next
They,
work
they,
session.
the
I just
accountants
need-
have it, the accountants have it already, I don't remember the dates, I have to look through my notes, but I
You could
thought he
probably
gave the
do it
dates already.
until December 31st, because now we're February, so you could have an overtime report for the whole year.
Okay.
The real
And
simple,
then
real
20
simple,
first.
real simple.
Just give me dates
What
and I'll do you an
we need is
over.
what they call a copy of the certified payroll.
Right.
Which is the payroll that's submitted to the federal government for the employees to receive their W-2s. In that number would include the
Oh.
overtime.
Right.
So you'd see total compensation paid to all employees in the village. It's a report that's already filed, you just need to make a copy.
Okay,
So this
so
way we'd have that
we'll have
done.
that for next work session.
That'd be great, thank you,
Okay,
Mary.
no problem.
The other, I just want to touch on real quickly on the building superintendent. One of the suggestions I made, I believe last month, because the question of a building superintendent coming here with an election in June, nobody will take the job. However, I thought we said was that we offer him a 2-year contract, similar to Ron, to where it doesn't matter
Right,
what happens, so.
to entice them to.
Right, I mean, we've been operating without a building superintendent / chief code enforcement agent since July 1st. And here we have the residents screaming for more code enforcement, and we haven't replaced the one spot that should be easier to obtain.
Has anybody heard of any candidates?
Well,
'Cause
Leslie, this is up to you to find. I mean, is
Well, I
it,
gotta say, Jim, we contacted civil service and
it
position,
doesn't have to be civil.
I think it has to be.
No, it
Not,
doesn't.
not, the- no,
No,
that
okay.
part
Not
is
the
not.
building.
No, no.
We've advertised in Live
Okay.
Victor, we
Code
put it in a magazine, I mean, I could spend my day
But Leslie,
going.
how do people recruit people?
You advertise, I advertised online in a publication for building superintendents. I
How
put
much
it
you-
out to the Long Island Village clerks and treasurers, even
Nobody's
without
come.
knowing. I got one person, one
What's the
response.
What's the salary range you advertise?
I didn't even advertise a salary range. Listen, Jim,
Is our
if,
reputation that bad? Don't think I'm
Jim,
gonna apply?
nobody even a nibble except for one man who had no code enforcement. All he's done is been a builder for 40 years. I'm happy to share his
Okay.
resume
All right.
with you,
Hey, look at-
but I didn't
If
think,
you
I
say
thought
that
you would
you've taken
laugh.
every avenue and you can't find a building superintendent / code enforcement, I'm not gonna challenge it because
No,
I don't know
I-
how
I-
I would go about getting it either.
When I
But
spoke
the
to-
point is, that's a key spot for us to have filled.
No
We haven't
question.
yet- We haven't filled it since July 1st. And we're standing on a platform.
Okay,
We take the Furwood retaining wall, the famous retaining wall in Furwood, where we have 3 people responsible. We're supposed to have bids, and we're supposed to make sure it's
I think
on.
you've found the, you had a file the other day, right? So-
oh yeah, there's the file.
But we need to know
We need
how
the
much
estimates.
we
We
need
need
a
someone to look at
bid.
it.
We
We
need
need
an
3
estimate.
estimates.
Okay,
Then we could get that fixed. We were all screaming 2 months ago that it's a safety hazard. So 2 months later, we have to get the bid to do it, and then we have to.
first we need a resolution authorizing the village, we need to do it legally. I can't say that and then you,
All right, Mr. Tony.
we
you
will
have
do a resolution for February 25th then. That's why a work session's
Why did
good.
you say that 2 months ago?
It has to be done.
Because I know that.
Well, it's done now.
Well, that's
so-
how it's done.
So we'll have it for the next meeting?
Yes.
We'll have a resolution
Fine.
done
I'm saying it's brought up
authorizing
as a
the,
major safety issue, and we didn't address it. before.
okay, well, that's the job of the board. You're right. It's the way government works. I know it's very different from private industry, but I cannot go ahead and get bids and solicit.
So you should have just said we need a resolution, then we could have moved on.
We'll write the resolution.
Well, but wait a second, I'm thinking about it. I thought because we have a engineer that, oh, because it's a holdover, we didn't vote? Well, normally, every village has an engineer that's like their village engineer, that they call upon when they're needed. So how come we haven't called our village engineer to go take a look at it and let us know what's going on? So at least we have some kind of idea, then when we have the resolution, that these guys come in to bid, that we know what they're bidding on the right thing.
You talk about the superintendent that comes in once a week or twice a week?
No, I'm talking about your village engineers. Well, you have a
Or
list of,
D&B or.
yeah, whoever
all the other ones
we
they've
have
used
on
in the
our
past.
list, like our towing companies, our banks, that's all done at the reorg meeting.
So why don't we just get the village engineer to take a look at
But
it?
that's what I'm just saying, I'm just thinking about this now that when she just said that, it's all coming to me. Give
So
me
we
a
don't need a
chance, my brain
resolution
catches
until we
up.
have them look at it? Can we have to, have
Do
them look
both.
at it prior to making the
Yes,
resolution?
because it's the same, it would be the same person who
Perfect.
Kevin asked 5 minutes ago, I think, to take a look at our sewer.
Mhm.
And they happen to be the same engineers that do work for the Port Washington Water Pollution Control District. So they're very, very familiar with our system.
That's
So,
D&B.
yep, I
Doesn't,
can
it-
have,
wouldn't we need the engineer report just before we do the RPI? Would we need the specifications put in there?
Well, yes, because I think we need to know exactly what needs to be
Right.
done. And I also think, we're talking about building a retaining wall that's gonna bring a liability onto the village, so the engineers should run it so that we know that it was expertly done.
Well, part of, I imagine, the RFP will be that they will have to have an engineer on site and
And
will
remember,
require it,
it's
but I think
not
I agree with
so
Kevin.
Because I can look at it and I'll go, that looks great,
Yeah,
but I have no idea if
Yeah,
it's gonna
exactly.
fall down
It's
tomorrow.
not-
I think an engineer should look at
Right,
it
you have
first.
to-
Right, so what we
So
need
it's
then
not
is for the engineer to come in
So,
Say what's
and
required, what's the
to
specs
say
of it.
what's required, and then they can help write the bid for us, because they can do it in engineering terms.
Right, so you need a
We will send
resolution
out
for that?
yes.
We'll have it
And
next
then we
week.
will send out a closed bid, which is the proper way to do it, because this is gonna be a very, very,
All I brought up is, in other words, we all said it's a safety issue, we know about it, we're taking action, we're opening up.
so I think tonight at this work session, we're talking about the process of how to get that done. Is that correct? We're talking about what the right process is to get that
And
done.
we said that we just approved that, so let's do it then, right?
Okay, so we will have the engineer come in, take a look at it. We will then have the resolution then would be to authorize the engineer to write the RFP. Okay,
all right. You want to make a motion again now to go into executive session?
Second.
Just have to include in the minutes the reason, Mayor, why
For
you
the
don't
advice of counsel?
on various legal matters.
Yes.
So maybe in a second?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
This is gonna be an executive session, it's not open to the public, we're gonna come out of the executive session and conclude the meeting, so there'll be no continuation of the public meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm not coming out of executive session to cover the rest of this hearing? or
No, we
you are?
just had a lot of things on there in case we had time to get
The
to
next BOT meeting will be a week from Monday.
The next BOT meeting is the 25th.